Welcome back to another Spirit Island video. In this video, we're going to be continuing our series of Is This Spirit for You? In this video, we're going to be focusing on the final Incarna Spirit, Wandering Voice Keen's Delirium. The setup is two presents on your starting board, one in land 6 and one in land 7. Put the Incarna, now unempowered side up on in land number 6. The playstyle, it's very positional. It has a highly mobile Incarna, particularly with lots of air, which adds strife and chases explorers' towns around as it roams the island. It has a harder time setting up Dahan counterattacks, but can use mind-shattering song that's the right innate to more directly harm invaders with strife and earn a fair bit of fear in the process. This is on the lower complexity of high. As you guys saw, darkness was around here, so this is going to be a lot easier to grasp than darkness. I think all of this is pretty accurate. This isn't a Dahan counterattack spirit, but there's a mini game where you can try to set up those Dahan counterattacks, which I find really fun. Looking at the summary of powers here, it has a very low offense. I'd probably disagree with this. I actually think the offense on this thing is pretty high. Probably would put it around this. Um, Very high control. I would say high fear. I probably think the fear is a lot higher on this than it has written. This is actually one of the best fear spirits in the game. Um, I would say a lot less defense. Probably put the defense. Oh, it does have a skip. Maybe the defense is a little bit less. And then it has utility, quite a bit of utility, and that's from the Strife as well as Turmoil's Touch. Now, I'm going to talk about the special rules before we talk about the cards here. So you have an Incarna, it's unempowered. When you empower it, it is an isolate, and that is this guy here. So it always counts as a sacred site. When it's empowered, it also isolates the land that it's in. So you have this special rule. It says when your actions add or move the Incarna to a land with invaders, you may add a strife. Oh, it doesn't say may, you have to. So no matter what, you add a strife in that land. So if my Incarna gets pushed to this land, I have to add a strife here on C7. In lands with or adjacent to the Incarna, if strife is present, Dahan do not participate in ravages. And it mentions that if the Incarna is isolated, that still has no effect. So even though this might be isolated, the Dahan still will not participate, assuming there is strife in those lands. When your actions add strife, so that includes your special rule, you may push the strifed invader. So just to repeat it, so if I push this Incarna to here, I get to add a strife. If it gets added to a town or explorer, I can push that invader. And so the strife that you add when you push the Incarna doesn't have to go to buildings, so it can go to cities, but you're only able to push town explorers. And this is kind of pointing out, or this is kind of why they rate Wandering Voices having a very high control, because every time you're adding strife, you're always pushing invaders around and you're controlling the location of those invaders. Looking at the cards, let's start off with the Frightful Keening. It's a 1 energy slow sun, fire, air. It is a slow power, targets the Incarna. It gives you an Incarna push, and then in the land, the Incarna gets pushed to 2 fear. Now remember, whenever you're pushing the Incarna, you're also adding a strife. So essentially, you get to push the Incarna, add a strife in that land, and then push that invader, and then you get obviously 2 fear. Twisted Perceptions, it's a 1 energy slow, moon, air, animal. It is a 1 range target land invaders. You get to add a strife. You may push the invader you added strife to. So remember, you're adding a strife to an invader. And this card specifically says you get to push that strifed invader, which means you can push the city if you'd like. This card, if it's added to a town or an explorer, you get to push that invader. And then, because of your special rule, you get to push it again. So it allows you to either push a strifed town 2 spots or a strifed city once. And that's with Twist Perceptions. Exhale Confusion and Delirium. It's a 0 cost fast sun, moon, air animal. Fast power targeting a land with strife. 2 fear. Invaders with strife do not participate in ravages. So you guys can kind of see the game plan with Wandering Voice. You want to strife everything. push it around, set it up in a single land, use this exhale such that they don't participate in ravages, which means the strife stays on those invaders. And that, once again, has 2 more fear. And finally, Turmoil's Touch, one of my favorite cards that Wandering Voice has. It's a 0-cost Sun, Moon, Air plant. Slow power targeting another spirit. Target spirit may either pay 1 energy or discard a power card to take a minor power into their discard, and you may do likewise. So essentially, what that spirit can do is, like I said, they trade an energy or discard a power, and then they gain a power from the top card of the minor power deck. Now, when I said gain, you just grab the top card. You don't get to draft a card. This is excellent for spirits that are looking for major power fodder, so just a card to forget for majors. So looking at our growths, we are a 0 to 1. And just reiterating what that means, we are not placing presence on our reclaim. We're going to reclaim. You can add or move the Incarna and then gain an energy. This is how you can bring your destroyed Incarna back onto the board. And you have to add your Incarna to a land with presence. Once again, your special rule, when you add your Incarna, you're strifing something in that land. Then you have a nice G2. And finally, you have a G3 that gives you a power card, place a presence, an energy, and gives you an air. Looking at the tracks here, we end at 4-4, and at the very end of top track is a free push the Incarna. You have a nice Sun Moon spot, an air, and then a reclaim 1. Voice is pretty interesting. I know there's I don't want to talk too much about the builds. We'll get into that into future videos. Looking at the innates here, we have the left innate and the right innate. The left innate is going to allow us to push that Incarna. Once again, whenever we're pushing the Incarna, we're going to add Strife and then push those invaders. And then when we hit that max threshold, that means we're allowed to empower the Incarna. The right innate is Mind Shattering Song. It's a slow power, Sacred Site range 1, targeting a land with Strife. You get 1 fear per moon you have, 1 damage per sun you have, to strifed invaders only. And then for each pair of Sun Moon, you may destroy an invader. So this is another way to kill invaders. Once again, you're pushing invaders all around the board, and then you're going to try to hit this innate to kill all of those invaders. Wandering Voice generates a lot of fear. So you get 2 fear from Frightful Keening, 2 fear from your Exhale, and then this right innate could get you, I guess, for up to 5 fear. I guess Frightful Keening doesn't. So the most it could get you would be like 4 fear, assuming you don't take like Nature's Connection. So that's 8 fear a turn, and that's really, really strong, in addition to also killing stuff. Okay, so this spirit is going to be for players that love control. This is the finder of the group, or the river of the group. You're constantly moving this Incarna around the board, pushing invaders. When you empower, it's isolated, so then you can kind of create pockets that way. And then you're going to be using your skip and your other cards in hand to kind of maneuver all of the invaders around into that one land. And then obviously you're going to skip that ravage in that land. Like I said, the offense should be higher, and that's just because this red innate does a lot of work. At least when I play Wandering Voice, I tend to be able to kill a lot of invaders with that red innate. And then, of course, if you draft any of those like Strife Majors, like Pent Up Calamity or Grant Hatred, you'll be able to just completely destroy all the invaders in the land. The fear, like I said, it should be higher as well. I mean, you're generating quite a lot of fear. Like I said, 4 from your cards, and then around 3 to 4 from your right innate. Defense, I think, is a little bit less. I know they're factoring in the skip. So if you're a player that values that defensive playstyle, this is not the spirit for you. If you're a player that loves a spatial puzzle, this is going to be a spirit you're going to enjoy, because a lot of this spirit is, how can I move the Incarna around the board such that I can maneuver all of the invaders into a single land, and then also have this Incarna isolate a land to stop a future explore or a future build. And then there's a little bit of support that the spirit can give out via Turmoil's Touch, so you can you have that feeling of helping out the team. If you like this video, like, subscribe for more content. I will see you guys in the next video.